This episode's made possible by the fact I stopped putting together Horus Heresy minis, and also thanks to everyone who supported us over on Patreon. If you want additional episodes every month, just go back us for $1 a month over at patreon.com/boardsandswords. Watch very closely now. 3, 2, 1. Bzow! Check that out.
We want the fun. Gotta have that fun.
Is it okay if it's okay if like when the bread touches the fries?
Do I really want to just stand still and cast a lightning bolt? No, I want to avoid you and shove a lightning bolt across.
I just crapped my alien pants. By the way, I just want to let you guys know.
You hate all of us, and we're fired.
I've released poison into the AC system. You all have about 5 minutes left to live.
So much news, like all this stuff to talk about.
No, there's been some stuff, but it was all boring.
You didn't go with C.
Well, you need to go with C.
And our friends, we combined.
You've told that story.
We combined. Have I told it on the podcast?
I'm pretty sure
you have.
At
Well,
least
I'm
twice.
telling it again.
Because I just realized as I was reading this that this game's already been done. They even made a show about it. It's called Yu-Gi-Oh! And go watch it.
This is Boards and Swords.
Hello out there, everyone, and welcome to Boards and Swords. This is a podcast featuring bad jokes, good folks, and some tabletop games in there, too. I'm one of your hosts. My name's Chris Renshaw. I'm going to throw it over to my other co-host, Mr. Philip Herbig.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to this wonderful Monday evening with what I think is the best podcast on the planet, and we will not be taking any debate on that subject.
Also, don't fact check that one, but just accept for us because it is what it is. But we've got even, let's see, what is it, 50%, 150% more people in this Discord channel now because we have, he's not on camera, but we got Mr. Ken from Geek Craft here with us once again. It's been a while.
It has, and it is 50% more, or 150% compared to usual.
Yes.
For those who can do math.
I'm not working, therefore math brain is off.
There we go. Yeah, nope.
And there's never math in Warhammer or anything.
No. Not anymore. There's freaking charts and stuff. I'll get into that later. Oh man. I said something earlier in the pre-show. I did a little bit of talking about Horus Heresy before the stream. Before the show started, because I was just like, I feel like I could just do this whole show. Just like, I'll just put this up for my camera and just have this be, the picture the entire time. But I will try not to regale with that. But I actually played games. Other games that didn't have miniatures, and some that did. Yeah. Rusted Beetle started a drinking game. Anytime I mention the word heresy, you drink. No, because then we won't have any listeners because they will have all passed out in 5 minutes from now. But the reason we have...
How do I create a soundboard button? Let me...
I like the GIF that got put in.
The new game is Horus Rabbit Eye View. Got it.
Yes. But Ken is here because he took a nice little day trip to, that big old convention that you might know as Origins. And just had a gaggle of a time is what I heard.
I did have a time. and I want to make things very clear. I'm going to ask what kind of swearing is okay because if that's allowed, there's going to be a good bit of it. And B, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Yeah.
Nice.
Well, to answer the first part, I'm the reason we can't be on some lists that Chris tried to get the podcast on.
Well,
okay.
I usually consider the show PG-13. However, I do edit the show, so I'm perfectly fine with bleeping out bits. Because honestly, the passion behind swearing is almost as fun as the actual rant itself. Yeah. But before we get to that, we got a lot of show before we get to that. But first, we need to start with some news. This will be Ken's favorite part of the show because, fellow bad joke person. That was terrible. I don't. All right. Anyways, I'm just gonna move on. If you made a game about a group of directors for a corporation, would that be a quote board game?
I'm glad the symbol didn't go off.
It did. It was just delayed. Mantic Games. It's really hard to make a joke about the word Mantic. At least it was earlier today when I was trying to make one. They've got, they make minis games. It's Mantic Games is like the knockoff Games Workshop because they have basically knockoffs of every game that Games Workshop has, but they're cheaper. Like they have Kings of War instead of Warhammer Fantasy, and like Dreadball instead of Blood Bowl, and all sorts of things.
They're not
Dreadball
knockoff.
folks,
They're
okay.
legally distinct.
Yeah,
Yes.
but also a quarter of the price. But they've done some other minis games and stuff. Dabbled in. They had a pretty good The Walking Dead miniatures game that was kind of cool because it was the zombies were just in the background. It wasn't. It was actually the minis game was Survivor versus Survivor, and you just didn't want the zombies to get close enough to you.
Basically, The Walking Dead.
Right, but
Game didn't end in shambles.
Painted meat. Sorry.
But they've just announced that they're creating a board game division where it's pleased to announce the creation of a new dedicated board game division based at their Nottingham office. Oh, they're also in England. Yeah, so another comparison to Games Workshop. This new department will focus on creating family-friendly board games and role-playing experiences. The first title to be launched under the board game division is Umbrella Academy: The Board Game, which is due to launch on the GameFound crowdfunding platform on June 15th. So that should have actually already been out by now. It's probably already out by now. Yeah, Kings of War does sell better than Warhammer Fantasy, which is why Games Workshop switched to Age of Sigmar. Yeah, mainly because it's cheaper. And more people play 40K. Ah, that makes sense. The person who owns Mantic is a former Games Workshop employee. Go figure!
Oh, there we go. That would. Yeah.
I did a quick check, and on GameFound, they hit their goal in 1 day and 23 hours.
That sounds like a lot, though. I would have thought this would have been like a day one thing. Maybe they just didn't
Yeah.
promote it.
But the amount of visibility of the GameFound. has
How
is nowhere
realistic is the now that since you've got it up? What was the funding goal? Or did you already close it? Did we lose Ken? Oh, I managed to pull it up. The goal was 2,500 euros. I was trying to see if it also was like a realistic goal, or was it a we just did the bare minimum just to say that we pledged.
Okay. Yeah. 25K euro. 8 days left. Okay.
My connection dropped. Sorry. They're at 36 grand. I think.
Yep, that's what it looks like. But all right. So more board games coming from Mantic, which is, I mean, they're pretty good. The minis are it's one of those you get what you pay for kind of things. So
Yeah.
if you need a lot of free cheap minis. Rusty Bean on the chat room as Umbrella Academy. Is anyone actually interested in that? I think the successful Netflix series would beg to differ.
It's a decent show.
Yeah,
I
I've
enjoy
not
it.
seen it, but I've heard great things.
You should dive into it, man. It's pretty.
Hey,
it's
I've
pretty
got
wicked.
enough stuff that I need to watch. All right.
It's
And
on
then
my list
you
too,
tell
but
me
it
I've got
hasn't
enough
been
stuff
part
I
of
need to
it
watch.
yet.
Yeah, we've all got stuff we gotta watch.
Yeah.
It's,
Let's move along. So also in the news, did you know that Magic is 30 years old? Magic the Gathering.
I did.
So I was curious and I looked up. Pearls are the 30th anniversary gift, and that works because you could probably buy tons of pearls for the price of some Magic cards.
Got him! Got him!
It's always a wonder. I'm like, okay, how long is he actually going to let that clip go on before he cuts it off?
We can make that smaller, can't we?
Yeah, we can. That requires work.
It
Uh,
does.
Wizards of the Coast has partnered with Reed Pop. Reed Pop does a lot of the smaller conventions, I believe, if I remember right. Like still big conventions, but not like your Comic-Con and stuff. Magic 30, an event to kick off Magic the Gathering's 30th anniversary celebration. Hey, Philip, you need a reason to go to Las Vegas? Because
See, the aggravating thing is after I got home from Vegas,
yeah,
all of a sudden everything in my Instagram, TikTok, Facebook feeds are filled with like, oh hey, all these cosplayers are going to Vegas. All these like TikTok creators, we're going to Vegas. And I'm like, 1 week. If I would have delayed 1 week,
Yep.
I could have got to meet a whole bunch of cool people.
Yeah, there was like 2 or 3 podcasts that I knew that were having meetups in Vegas like the week after you went. But October 28th through the 30th at the Expo at World Market Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. They're kicking off the celebration early by launching an in-person and virtual event in Las Vegas during Halloween weekend. Yeah, that is Halloween weekend. It didn't even click to me that was that weekend. Includes a modern tournament that finishes with a top 8 draft where players will draft beta edition cards. That sounds awesome. Beta edition cards and the Magic World Championship. Hold on, 28. Yeah, there we go.
That sounds playing with beta cards when the game has changed so much since then. That sounds terrible.
But yeah,
No one's gonna know how they work.
but it's a draft, so it's not like you're throwing in beta along with everything else. And it's it's just like a one-time.
Still,
I don't know.
ugh.
When did slivers get introduced? Because I would take all of them.
There's also going to be Unfinity events. Oh, that must be another one of those unhinged set type things. It's also going to
sneak
feature
this card onto the battlefield. It can stay.
yeah. It would also feature its own exclusive secret layer set. Oh, so I wonder if they're going to do like the PAX East in in 2014 where they had the Pwn meal that had the Cards Against Humanity cards in it, and you saw people like trading them out. You just see people actually trading cards in for a trading card game.
Why is there so much oatmeal around all the trash cans? It's
Yeah,
stupid.
that was. I mean, it was a very fun idea, but it made such a mess.
Yeah. Just a lot of work resealing all those bags. Wizards of the Coast also, who cares about Secret Lair? But yeah, if you really like Magic the Gathering, you know what? I think I would if they stream the top 8 draft, I think I would watch that, a beta edition. Like then I don't have to pay money for it. I don't have to pay all the money to go to one of these things, but I could just sit and enjoy the confusion of people that are like in their 20s now playing a card game older than them.
I mean, the other thing that actually turns 30 right around the same time is the movie Fern Gully, which is getting a re-release in theaters for the 30th anniversary.
Oh, so they finally finished the Avatar sequels?
No. That's coming later.
Come on, Philip. That was perfect for a badumch.
It was, but I wasn't in the window.
Aw. All right.
I was looking at when slivers came out. They came out in 97
Ah.
with Magic's 12th expansion.
Wait, it had 12 expansions in the first
October of
4
97.
years?
It says.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually. 3 per year. That makes sense. Checks out. Or what does the kids say? Cap? No cap? I forget which one means what.
I think no cap is good.
Okay.
Chris, you're old, by the way.
I know.
For the old
Making
man
sure
age.
you know.
Next up, what's the difference between an Imperial soldier and someone after eating Taco Bell? One's a stormtrooper, the other's a storm pooper. Is what it is. So here's a minis game that's not from Games Workshop, just in case you thought I had forgotten all about those types of games. Star Wars Legion, I always like to show when they do new, different things, not like just like, here's the next thing. But they announced a new like entry point set for the game, because previously you had to buy like the core box, and then like all the other FFG style games, you had to buy like multiple core sets to actually get an army. And now they announced these Legion Battle Force starter sets. So you got 4 starter sets. You got the 501st Legion for your clone troopers. You got the Separatist Invasion for those guys, and Grievous. And then kind of mirroring the Battle at Hoth, you've got the Echo-based Defenders for your Rebel Alliance, and the Empire, and the Blizzard Force. Of course, I see Blizzard Force, and I just think of like, hey, isn't that the new Overwatch 2 game coming out?
I'm just thinking there were going to be a couple of orcs in the Blizzard Force.
I forgot. Each of these sets will retail for $150.
Okay, what do they come with? Oh, 24, 4, 5. Okay, there's
Yeah,
stuff
it
in
comes with a decent amount of stuff. This isn't just like an expensive box full of cards. Yeah, like the
there. I mean,
Echo.
it is.
It yes, but it's not just cards.
But
like for instance, I got the Echo-based Defenders one here. Has you get Leia, Chewbacca, R2D2, 24 Rebel veterans, 4 Tauntaun riders, a laser cannon team, and C-3PO. I love how they're just like, and C-3PO at the very end. Like, oh man, you thought all that was cool. Wait till you throw in the fact that we got C-3PO there too. And I bet the Tauntaun riders are probably bigger, actual, it'll probably have like the guy on the Tauntaun, and the Tauntaun's probably, I would imagine, about like, what's that, 5 inches, 6 inches tall? I would hope.
that could
I have
be it.
I have nothing. I'm only going off of scale. Turns out there's actually quite a bit of people playing Legion at our local store. I since I've been going there more often. It's one of those games that like, it's also one of those games that a lot of people buy and then you never see them play it.
I know how they feel.
Like you always like will
No
see.
idea what that's like.
You will always like, I'll see the Legion stuff shrink off the shelves, but then you don't see as many people when it comes to like Legion, but it's like steadily growing and stuff. But people love their Star Wars, and it's a pretty cool game. I just have tons of other cool games that I'm playing. All right. I came up with a great business plan yesterday. I want to make a Lord of the Rings arcade, and I'll call it JRR Token.
If you want an actually good joke, since we were talking about Star Wars, do you know how Vader knew what Luke got him for Father's Day?
Hmm.
He felt his presence.
Ah. I think if you're writing articles, you shouldn't be allowed to put the word deets in a headline. Like this ICV2 article says Ares game releases more deets on War of the Ring, the card game. I'm just like, deets? I can't even read the article. I'm just hung up on the fact that they put deets in the headline. Like not in like the byline. Like I would almost understand the byline. But in the headline, this semi-legitimate professional, media outlet put in the words deets, or the word deets. Am I the only one having trouble with this?
Yes.
Okay. Moving
Mr. Deets.
on. Mr. D.
Say I'm just thinking of Beetlejuice because he keeps saying the word.
All right.
Ares game, man, coming out of the, I heard some of it out of Origins, but definitely out of the UK Games Expo. You just heard a lot of people talking about the War of the Ring card game. Like, I didn't even know this was a thing until UK Games Expo. And suddenly it was all, I guess because it was first teased just before UK Games Expo. That would probably be why. So this is apparently going to hit retail in November 2022. It is part of the War of the Rings series of board games that lets players immerse themselves in Lord of the Rings. In this game, players compete as teams, either the Shadow or the Free Peoples, by using different card decks to represent strengths and weaknesses of the factions. So it will support 2 to 4 players. Plays in 90 to 120 minutes for $45, which is definitely a lot cheaper than what it would take to get the actual War of the Ring board game.
Seems a little long for my taste, but I mean it's not inappropriate for the subject. It's just
Yeah. It depends on the game. Like, it depends on the gameplay. Like, what kind of a game is it going for?
right.
Like, are we getting the full kind of, like, is it more of a one-to-one to the board game, but in a card game form? Or is this supposed to be like a simple, 1v1 or multiplayer battling game? Because, yeah, 90 to 120 minutes is a bit long for that style of game. Think like your Magic style of I'm going to build a deck and we're going to battle kind of thing. But I also wonder, I imagine there's probably going to be expansions for this, because why wouldn't you have?
Yeah, no, you'd have to. A quick look up, the designer is also the one who did Quartermaster General, which is
The company?
No, the game.
Oh. Okay.
The designer is that.
I just think of that Quartermaster Logistics that a lot of Kickstarters use. That's what I was thinking
CSI
of.
is other brand.
Yeah. So, because Philip wouldn't know this, War of the Rings actually are really popular. I think it's on the BGG Top 100. But a lot of people that play the game really like it. It's a very detailed game about, the Lord of the Rings. And especially the hardcore fans, you'll always hear them talk about, they've got the super deluxe edition of the game that's got, like detailed minis and, very fancy pieces. I think it even has I think it's like a wooden chest, if I remember right.
Yeah, the deluxe edition.
yeah.
I'm far from a Lord of the Rings nut. It is a gorgeous setup.
Oh, do you have it?
No.
Okay.
And War of the Ring is the 11th overall. It is the top war game and is the 5th thematic game.
Okay. Oh, yeah, so it's pretty high. I was thinking it was in the top 50 or so, but so it's a lot higher than that. Okay, and one last story, and this is probably one of the biggest. This is 2 stories in one. You're getting 2 stories in one for here. When Cephalofair Games delivers their most recent Kickstarter, do people start singing that they're Frost having a good time?
The
So
joke deserves a cold shoulder.
most of them do. So there's 2 things with this story. Cephalofair Games switches to Backerkit crowdfunding platform with new project. So first of all, the lower part, the kind of not as big news with this story is the fact that there's going to be another Cephalofair Games campaign. I got to make sure not to say Kickstarter. Campaign where they're going to have miniatures for, let's see, they say Gloomhaven, Forgotten Circles, Jaws of the Lion, and Frosthaven. I think they teased it was going to have like 5. I saw it on another story. Yeah, 500 plus count miniature line for those 4 games and kick off in Q1 2023. That's a big story on its own, but it was paired with the fact that Backerkit announced that they are coming out with their own crowdfunding platform. So to compete with Kickstarter, you got GameFound, Backerkit, which already a lot of companies use to do the fulfillment of their campaigns. Well, now companies can use it for the actual crowdfunding part and keep everything all within one website. And apparently the other half is that this part didn't even get teased that much. There was like 30 other creators that have announced that they're moving to the platform as well, such as Monty Cook Games, Restoration Games, Leader Games, Greater Than Games, Rocket Ship and Deep Water Games, among others. So a lot of big names in the Kickstarter realm are going to be shifting over to this Backerkit crowdfunding platform. So
there's a lot of people moving away from Kickstarter because of the whole blockchain and
right, and the fact that they seem to waffle with it and they won't give real big details about it. Like even if you're people that I've seen people that are pro, blockchain and crypto and all that, they don't like the announcement as much because they don't say anything about why, or like they just keep
right
throwing you know, business words at the screen being like, we're going to do this thing.
Upward.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think the big thing for like the move from Kickstarter to something like GameFound, or in this case, Backerkit's thing, is it definitely is going to be a much stronger focus on things of the hobby, which if you have companies like Restoration or Cephalofair or Leader, you have these big groups, these big companies with big titles on there, it's going to draw a lot more eyes to that site. And it means that, if I have my little game, I'm not expecting to get a lot of traction with it. If I put it on something like GameFound or on Backerkit's crowdfunding thing, it's a lot more likely to get seen because it's all games versus being on Kickstarter. It's like, okay, there are 2.5 million projects launching every day.
Right. And the other, there's a couple of things, me personally, because I saw I saw a Facebook post that they had commented on the thing, like, why Backerkit? Like, why wouldn't Cephalofair go to GameFound versus... So my response to that is, A, competition's always good, because that's how you end up in the position where when a company like Kickstarter does something you don't like, it's like, well, crap, where do I go? If you're a smaller publisher, because Kickstarter has because one of the things that helps out smaller creators is Kickstarter has a bunch of people that just watch Kickstarter. So even if you're not following the company, it may still show up on people's radars just because they're in that ecosphere. But if you move to another platform, those platforms are still growing and don't have that dedicated fan base yet. So me personally, having another place, a Kickstarter alternative, can ultimately be a good thing, assuming it succeeds. Secondly, the fact that if you took a poll of, let's just say, of all the people that support games on Kickstarter, that back games on Kickstarter, I would wager 75% of those people already have a Backerkit account.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Like, you're talking about a website that already has a decent user base because they're using it for its other services.
Right.
It makes more sense to me to do Backerkit than some of the other things, because you're already familiar with the site.
Right. I think it's going to be a matter of how they implement things, how they handle advertising, what kind of cut they take that's going to determine where companies are going to start going.
But that's another, you're talking about Kickstarter versus other platforms and how they deal with things, specifically in the game space. This is a problem that's been needing to be addressed even before Kickstarter started going off on their blockchain spiel. Like, I know there's another company that does really well in Europe that's called Game On Tabletop. They're a crowdfunding site that does a lot, but when they first came on the scene, one of the big things they published was the fact that, Kickstarter's great for the crowdfunding aspect, but as soon as that campaign's over, the site is worthless.
Yeah.
As soon as you get that money, you're done. You have to then go to other sites to figure out in the whole management and logistics half of it and getting stuff out, which for a small up-and-coming company is very daunting. And that's where the game on sites and GameFound, and both GameFound and Backerkit starting off, because people don't realize GameFound also started off as one of those Kickstarter fulfillment sites, and then they were like, oh, and by the way, we're going to launch our own games there as well.
Or start our own hotel.
Yeah.
Gambling and booze.
So it's going to give people, it's going to be very appealing to smaller creators that'll be like, look, we've got the tools to estimate shipping and to figure out, how to get your games into your customers' hands. So hopefully that means more games getting to fulfillment better, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to kind of centralize things, which in this case is not bad. It also is going to give, if you're a very small publisher, you're a first-time publisher, it gives you one source to be able to ask questions and get answers rather than going to Kickstarter and then going, this campaign raised like $30 million, so we don't care about you.
Yep. So that them's the breaks. That's the news. So in just a minute, we're gonna let Ken go whole open on Origins talk, but I do need to. I have to, everybody take a drink. I have to at least talk somewhat about this giant box here. Oh my gosh, you don't like like Philip probably knows because he sees my Facebook page, but I've been drooling over this box for like weeks now.
That's not good for the cardboard.
Well, I dreamed. Yeah, you're right. You know, I'm not even gonna try and defend that. You're right. But like, then I got it. Especially, it was like a kismet because it came out the day after my birthday. So, but like, there is a crap ton of plastic in here. Like, look at all these sprues. I've got it up on the screen now. I open up this box, and it's just so many sprues of minis. It's so ridiculous.
Yep, that's a box of Games
And then
Workshop stuff.
you can see in the background there's 3 chunky hardcover books in the background as
buddy.
well that I got.
How much does that box weigh?
You know what?
Before or after he cuts everything.
Yeah, I was about to say.
No, I want to know, like, off the shelf in a store, how much does that weigh?
Philip, why don't you Amazon that while I talk for a second? Because I honestly don't know. It was a decent heft, but I would put it at least at a Gloomhaven. But I don't remember off the top of my head. All I remember is the game store person was like one-handing it like this way, with like lengthways, and I was kind of intimidated. But so I've been very vastly at work assembling them, especially when you have like 40 different Marines working to try and get that. But I will probably talk more about that at a much different time because I just got this on Saturday. So, but I actually played other things. Like, hey, Philip, I played BattleTech.
Whoa! Not in
Yeah.
a pod?
Not in a pod. This is the actual miniatures game. And, like, I even got to, like, look, oh, these 2 minis are giving each other hugs. No, I got stomped on from above, which was great because my mini ended up standing and his, like, fell over and, like, killed his leg and everything. It was awesome. But it was one of those, he was already in a rough place, so he's like, well, I got nothing to lose. Let me just jump on your head and try and kill you. But yeah, as Hoser points out, the Hoser Tech instead of BattleTech, because he I think honestly 8.4 pounds. That's it. That seems light. It is a bunch of plastic though.
It's the expectation.
It is an expectation.
It's
You
the
look
weight
at
of
the
your
box.
decision.
The way,
Oh,
yes,
that too.
that's it. I was weighed down by the burdens of my decisions. And actually,
So
what?
It's an Atlas and a Mad Cat?
It is I don't remember what the other one was, but that is actually a catapult, which is one of the things that the Mad Cat is based on.
Okay.
It doesn't have arms. That's the big difference.
Oh, yep. Okay.
But yes, we didn't want to bring out the clan rules, so I couldn't play the Mad Cat, which is my favorite. But honestly, it may have actually been Hoser K in the chat room. He had been posting some pics and talking about playing BattleTech in our Discord. And so when somebody mentioned something about BattleTech in our local stores Discord, that I was like, yeah, I've got like the 2014 box set from Catalyst. And so I would totally play. And then so like 2 weeks ago, someone was like, hey, I'm going to teach a game this coming Sunday. And then they tagged me and I was like, you know what? Let's do it. I'm down. I got to say, it's a little bit, it's like the same amount of complicated as 40K, but in like one mini instead of like an army. Like there are rules for everything. Like for instance, the fact of somebody jumping and landing on you, and then you got to roll like, well, they fell. But there's also weird things like when something falls, rolling like 2d6 to determine what side of their hex they fall on, so you know which side the damage goes on for like the armor and the heat and such. which is cool, all fine and well, but like in Games Workshop games, they just have like a scatter die for that kind of thing. And I'm like, that sounds like a much better way of doing things. Is which way do I fall? Roll. Oh, that way. Instead of rolling 2d6 and looking up on a table. Yeah, but like the entire game you can play with just 2 6-sided die for the most part. Also, I found there's an official Catalyst app for like keeping track of your
Damage and everything.
damage and everything. Not so great on a phone. I looked it up while I was on my phone and pulled it up, and it was like trying to touch like the individual dots was very hard. Like a tablet, wonderful. I imagine it would work beautifully. Not so well for a phone.
Yeah.
But it was cool. I mean, you're talking like a fraction of the cost of playing Warhammer, but so if you like that kind of more realistic-ish combat of, you know, it's not just, oh, you've got X number of wounds and when that's gone, like, you know, damage matters where you get hit, and you can't just fire all your weapons every round because there's heat. Like in this game that I've got on the picture here, I actually sat in this little water hex over here for a while because I could fire because I had twin particle projection cannons, them PPCs. Know what I'm talking about? I could just fire them all the live long day because my heat sinks that are in water get double the heat absorption. And so you could just keep firing stuff. Granted, you're just standing still, but...
Yeah, but if you're firing that much more, kind of making me think of all the time I spent playing MechWarrior 3 ages ago.
It was MechWarrior 4 was the big one for me. I played a lot of MechWarrior 4. And if people have watched the vlogs I did a couple years ago, I got started on BattleTech with the 90s cartoon show.
God.
Yeah. You know, that had them like ancient, that like first gen CGI. Copied and laminated the sheets to use dry erase. Yeah, that's what actually the newer beginner kit that you can get for BattleTech. It's only $20. It comes with 2 mechs and a bunch of maps and books and stuff. They actually come with laminated sheets.
Oh, that's good. That's actually really smart.
Yeah. At least for like the beginner game stuff. I don't know if they have it for the full, your standard, if you've ever played BattleTech, the standard kind of armor grid kind of thing. But there's a smaller intro rule set, which Hoser and I had talked before is it's a little too basic, but it does get you used to thinking in that regard. It was also funny because you can see game development over time, because like the rules themselves have not changed that much, but the presentation of the boxes has. Where, so I bought, like I said, I have like the 2014 BattleTech introductory box. I want to say it was around $60. I think I got it after our first Gen Con, so it was like 2015, 2016 when I bought it. And it came, think like your standard size board game square, like your Fantasy Flight Games square box. That's how big it was. And it came with 24 mechs in it. And instead of using paper cardstock maps, we have these maps here that you could see on here. They had actual legit boards, like a board game board for mats. Whereas now, the Catalyst box that they have now are like the same price, but you get 8 mechs instead of 24, and you get cardstock maps instead of these boards. But also, part of me is like, I wonder if somebody was like, you know, if you put 24 mechs in the introductory box, there's no reason for them to buy any other boxes.
Exactly, yeah.
Or it's just too much and people go, even if this is an intro thing, I don't know what to do.
You know what? That's entirely possible as well, because that is why I notice I said I bought the box in 2015, 2016, and it is 2022, and I am just now playing the game. But because now they have, it's great. I kind of wish our store would get these, but they have blind boxes for their mechs that they make now from Catalyst, where they can just like, you just get a display and it's like $7 and you just open it up and it's a pre-assembled plastic mech. And a part of me be like, I would be like, every time I'm in the store, I would just like pick up a new box. The only downside is just all these mechs. I don't know how I would paint them because, like, to me, they're all kind of very. I'd have to find like artwork that somebody had done to figure out what color, like to vary them. Because a part of me, you just like, oh, let me spray them like black and do a bunch of gray highlights and be done. So if you want a really cheap but like intensive game, then BattleTech's another one of those games. Like, I can see stuff disappearing off the shelves, and you hear people talking about it in our Discords and stuff. But like, I would never see anybody playing it. But now, ever since that game, that introductory game, I've been starting to see people bringing like MechWarrior stuff and wanting and asking questions about learning to play. So it's a possibility of a MechWarrior game in the future. And then I got one more game, and then we'll get to I've got other stuff that I will mention for another show. I'll say for that, but I promised to talk about this before. And the other minis game that I learned how to play was Necromunda, which, granted, is a Games Workshop game. Granted, also a lot of money, but not nearly the amount of money that it would take to play Warhammer 40,000. In fact, I found out while I was learning to play this game that I already had minis that I could use in this game. So, Philip, I don't know if you remember that Assassinorium game that we played with all the cultists that would just randomly move around, and we played the assassins trying to kill them.
Yeah.
But the ones that I painted up like sand people, those you can actually use Chaos Cultists as gangs in Necromunda. So I already had, not only did I have minis assembled, but I had painted minis already for this game, I found out. I just needed the books to learn how to play them. So
that terrain looks pretty neat.
And the terrain is what drew me into this game, because Necromunda is a very 3D aspect game. Like, there are rules for, climbing the terrain, jumping down off the terrain onto somebody. Also, like, if you're up on like one of these ledges that doesn't have a railing and you get shot with something that has knockback, there's a chance you might fall off the terrain. Also, things like if you're next to a whole bunch of your other guys and you get shot, but the shot misses you, you have to roll to see if all the guys that are within like an inch of you, if they get hit instead.
All right.
So it's a very terrain-based game. It's a skirmish game. It's like 5 to 10 minis. The game we played, we were only having like 5 minis each. But it's all based around this gang warfare, where you have these different gangs in this very cyberpunk industrial sort of setting. And you're just kind of, and by skirmish, it means you don't like move them all as a cluster. It's like individual units. They're like, I'm going to move this guy over here, and I'm going to move this guy over there. But it's also it's simpler than something like 40K in the sense that there's only like 1 or 2 dice you're rolling. You're not rolling like 20 to 40 dice.
Okay.
But it is complicated in the fact it's a different set of rules for some of those individual things. Like the overall, if you've ever played a game of Warhammer, the overall rules are very simple as far as, okay, this is my movement stat. It's done in inches. I have a weapon skill and a ballistic skill, and I rolled to hit, and then I rolled to wound, and they rolled to save from the hit. If you haven't played Warhammer, everything I said sounds like gobbledygook. Just, it's fine. It's one of those like realism, but in every game tackles their realism in a different way. With BattleTech, it's where you get hit on your armor. With Necromunda and Warhammer, it's, just because you get shot at doesn't mean it actually damages you. So, Necromunda does not have 30 books of rules. I will that the rest of the people just posted that. There are a couple of rule books because they post like they'll do expansion boxes and expect you to buy the box, and the rules for that expansion are in the box. But and then each gang has like a book with rules that's like its codex, but it's not nearly as bad as 40K that has like your core rules, your codex rules, and then there's also like the actual play rules of like, oh, this is the narrative campaign we're doing, and these are the white dwarfs that you need to reference because we modified some of the rule balances, but we didn't actually change any of the online stuff. We just published it in a white dwarf. But I really enjoyed this game, and in fact, I went and bought the core rulebook for Necromunda as soon as we played this game, because I was like, oh, well, I've already got a unit, and I've already bought some terrain. I just gotta, where did I put them? Yeah, I had already bought some Necromunda terrain because I was like, oh, I could use it in 40K as well, and even painted it up with all this like a rust effect and stuff. So pretty cool. And it's a game that's been around forever too. Like if you say Necromunda, you're like, oh, I remember Necromunda from like the 90s. Yeah, it really hasn't changed that much.
So there is an Xbox game.
There is actually, yes. I have it's like Necromunda Underhive Wars. It's also on Steam. It does, I think it runs most of the same rules as the board, the minis game.
Yeah.
I've only played a little bit of it because I was playing it on a big TV, and it's one of those where like the text is really small. So it was kind of bothering me there. Whereas if I played it down here, the text ratio would be a lot better. But yeah, it does mimic the rules a lot, where you get like a couple of actions and you can either move and shoot or aim and shoot and et cetera, et cetera. So,
and for what it's worth, I did a quick search on the Games Workshop site. They have 27 items under Necromunda for rules in the store. So there are at least 27 different rulebooks.
yeah, but I wonder if that also includes the products that have rulebooks in them. And I bet that also includes cards, because you can buy.
It does include the Tactics cards. It also includes the E versions.
Yeah. Because the card, it's one of those like, hey, you don't need these cards, but it'll make the game easier because you'll have the references in front of you instead of having to flip through the books.
Yeah.
Oh, 5 parasects from home. Solo wargaming. That's a little weird. I'm assuming maybe there's like a Hoser 40K pointed out. Maybe there's like a deck that you flip through to play the other players. Because I know a lot of minis games will have that. Where like, oh, if you do this card, it means they advance or something. So, anyways, yeah, those were the 2 big mini games I have. I also played some board games, but we will push that off so we can get to talking about Origins. I'll talk about that. I'll talk about Sura Phoenix Rising and Vampire Rivals next time. So, Ken, talking about Origins, do you want to hit us with some good stuff first and then rant, or do you want to rant and get it out of your system?
I mean, I'm fine with either. Origins it's very near and dear to me because I've been going to Origins since I was in college. Like, it's 2 hours away. It's not, obviously it's not as big as Gen Con, but I love the show. It's a lot of fun. And with the world being the way it is, it was okay, no, we're not going, And this year it was, okay, they're requiring vaccines, they're requiring masks. I can day trip and it's not going to be too terrible. My partner is immunocompromised. We have an 8-month-old, but it's one of those things like, there is an acceptable amount of risk that we can kind of mitigate.
Right.
So I decided to day trip down to Columbus on Saturday of Origins. Some of the stuff was actually very good. It's always good to see folks that I haven't seen in years. It's good to kind of see all the titles that I may have missed because of the pandemic, because having a kid, things like that. The hall seemed maybe not normal Saturday busy, but it was decently, there were a decent number of people. There were some really good deals depending on what you were after. Like I already had the deluxe base version of Clinic, and they sold me all of the expansions, of which there's like 8 for $200, and some of them go for $50 a piece. So it's like, yeah, I can get into that. But
Anything like any big highlights as far as new games that you got tried, or was it more of a lot of meeting up with people and checking out companies you hadn't seen in a while?
a lot of it was that. I mean, like I said, I got a bunch of the clinic stuff. I did pick up Cryptid Cafe, which seems like a competitive, not real-time version, monster version of Overcooked.
Okay.
For folks who are
The
familiar with that.
video game?
Yeah. Where you're trying to serve the different creatures that come in before they leave. The sooner you feed them, the bigger they tip you, which means you get more points. Like it, they did a really good job of production on it. It looks really good. It's kind of that, it's silly but not too obtuse for a game subject. Like it really caught me, and I was like, hey, I think this would be a hit. We already have a Mothman book on order for our kid.
Nice.
Cryptids are fun, and they had a lot of fun. One of the things you can serve is hot apple spider.
Ha!
Like it's very silly stuff, but it's well produced. It looks good. They paired. It's through Squatchy Games, which is their first release, but they paired with 25th Century. Yeah, they did. I think they did a really good job. I got the new version of base Galaxy Trucker, which is a personal favorite. I love Galaxy Trucker. I think it's a fantastic game. And apparently they've made it a little less deadly. But just a little. Just a little. Yeah, a lot of the time was just spent, hanging out, looking at things, kind of seeing what I've missed. And just catching up with some of the folks that I haven't seen in a few years.
Yeah, I know exactly how you feel, because I had that same experience going to PAX Unplugged, where it's so wild, where you feel like you've been in a coma almost for like 3 years.
Yeah.
And just meeting back with people.
Yeah. And having people go, oh, hey, you actually still exist.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
It's also weird because there's been that whole evolution of the media since then, where like there's been a lot of podcasts that have fallen away, and with everybody having all this free time when they were locked in their homes, you've got all these new like TikTok and Twitch streamers that have come up and become huge hits in the past 2-3 years.
Yeah, no, it's definitely shifted. Board games in general have shifted,
right?
And it's a very different hobby from really at this point from all perspectives than it was 3 years ago,
right? I mean, if you're sitting there thinking, really, all I have to do is 2 words: solo gaming. How many games, like out of the box, primary, it's a marketing bull point that they talk about solo gaming versus it's just an afterthought that somebody put on BGG or something.
Yeah, I think, and I don't remember a source. If I find it, I'll try and get it to you later. Somebody said that last year there were more games released with a solo mode than not.
Right.
Which I don't know necessarily how accurate that is, but it is definitely a much more prevalent thing, and a much more popular thing, because it's one of those things. Like I think some of the stigma around solo gaming has really gone down because people have realized, playing a game of solitaire, Klondike, whatever you want to call it, card game, is just the same thing. You're just playing with a basic set of cards. Okay, looking at something like For Northwood, which is a solo trick-taking game. Okay, you're just playing with the set of cards. It's a different rule set.
Yep. And it was one of those previously people being like, well, I don't see why you would ever do that. And then you get forced to the bit of, oh, this is the only way that I can get my hobby fix in.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like I, as someone who enjoys solo gaming, my gaming has gone down for obvious reasons,
Yeah.
but I still appreciate that, like Van Ryder Games in particular comes to mind just because they do so much solo stuff.
Right.
Um,
They had those adventure books that were almost like
Yeah.
choose your own adventure kind of, but like in a role playing sense, sort of.
yeah, and some of them are like really like complicated, but not in a bad way.
Right.
Everything that Elf Creek Games makes has a solo mode.
Oh,
Like,
those are the ones Elf Creek Games. They just did that. Was it Defenders of something? They just
They
came-
did Merchants of the Dark Road.
That's what I'm thinking of. Merchants of the Dark Road.
Yeah. And they did Honey Buzz, which looks gorgeous. They did I think it's the new version of Atlantis Rising, and they have a new expansion coming for Monstrosities, and it looks like there's a lot of stuff. It's like, no, this is really a thing. What was it? Foundations of Rome has a solo mode, and granted, it is a separate purchase, but it's not a terribly expensive one.
Right. Hoser 40K says a lot of his recent gaming purchases have been based on whether or not the game came with a solo mode built in.
Yeah. But yeah, it's becoming. It's always kind of been a thing, but it's so much more prevalent now, and I appreciate it because it lets you, as someone who teaches games and reviews games, it lets me try the game and see kind of how all the pieces work. Which means when it comes time to teach it, once we get out of this situation we're all in, that will become a lot easier, and being able to speak to, oh, here's how the game plays on its own.
But in contrast to learning from lessons over history, let's shift to some of the bad things now.
Let's talk about Origins.
Yeah.
So
now hold on. One caveat.
Mhm.
Just before you, since I know a little bit of what you're going to say, but I may not know the full extent. However, I will preface all this by saying I was not surprised by some of your posts in the least, because I know you might have a good opinion of Origins. I have always had a mediocre opinion because Origins is one of two shows that is run by the Gamma, by Gamma, the Game Manufacturers Association. And how many times have we had posts on here about all the different screw ups that Gamma's had over the years, Philip? And president resigns, and this person who's the Gamma president got thrown out of Gen Con for all this and that. So, and I've talked to publishers that shows from the logistics end, Origins is one of the worst run convention, major conventions. But anyways,
No. It's so my love for Origins is I found out about Origins when I really got into hobby gaming, and I know a lot of friends who go to Origins, and so it's not inherently the convention that
it's the experience.
Right. It's not a romanticized thing. It's the entirety of it. In terms of how Gamma runs things, it's a shit show. Like there's not even a question there. But my thinking, I try to have a very small amount of faith in humanity. I'm a tester by trade. I've been burned a million times before. I generally don't trust people, but it was there's a pandemic on, and they want to get people in. They said, oh, masks aren't required, and then it said, no, masks are required, vaccines required. We're gonna make this safe because of the concerns from publishers, because of the concern from people, because of the concerns from this, that, the other. And then they didn't enforce a damn thing. So the main thing was I saw several companies that they just didn't wear masks, period. Crystal Cast in particular, the one I saw 2 employees in that booth the entire show, or on Saturday, obviously, so one day only. But the one employee I don't think ever had a mask on, and the other employee frequently had a mask hanging from one ear. And I made a mention of it to one of the volunteers, and she pointed me to the person who was actually in charge, and he went and talked with them, and it was on for all of 5 minutes. like there's no punishment, there's no reprimand, there's no, oh, you can't do this. Why not? Because we said so. What's going to happen if I don't do it? Nothing. Then I'm not going to do it. Like, I saw mesh face masks that offered 0 protection. I dealt with secondhand an individual who, and I'm quoting when he was asked to wear a mask, quote, "You can all eat my ass," which seemed slightly less sanitary than wearing a mask. I saw so many noses. I saw so many masks under chins. The whole penis nose.
Oh yeah.
Joke.
Where you make where you wear the mask just under the nose, doing
Like
actually
walk
nothing.
around with your dick out. It doesn't work. Like it makes me so. I'd say irrationally angry, but I don't even think it's even irrational at this point. It's incredibly frustrating for them to say, we want to do this for the safety of our attendees. We want to do this because we were asked by publishers and by this group and that group, and to have nothing come of it.
Yeah, see, and I want to jump in here and say, because somebody might be like, well, you're just being too sensitive. There's a difference between, because we've had a fair number of conventions between, the tail end of last year coming into this year, Gamma Trade Show, what was it, Board Game Geek Con happened.
BGG Spring, yep.
Yeah, well, not just Spring, there was the fall one as well.
Yeah, they actually had regular BGG. There was PAX East.
BGG Con, there we go. And then there was also Geekway to the west happened. So we've got a sample of like different ways to do things, and it's one of those like, yes, not. I mean, it's not an opinion to state that people have different opinions on masks and their effectiveness and vaccines and whatnot. Like, I mean, that's not an opinion. That's just a fact of the.
Yeah. Yes, that is fact.
And sure, there have been conventions that didn't require vaccines or masks, or there have been some, like I think Geekway and BGG, they did a lot of like it was masks required for everywhere, but there was a couple of places for like mask optional gaming. Like if you just didn't want to wear a mask, then you could go there and you'd be fine.
Right.
And if Origins had said masks are optional, everything you would be describing, I'd be like, that sucks, but is what it is.
Right. It's by the rules.
It's by the rules. You can't expect everyone, everyone believes different things. You can't expect everyone to follow masks. But when you put the sign on the door that says masks are required, it's not just you need to follow the rules thing. And you're the example of this. It gives an expectation of you're the prime example of, I have very specific circumstance that puts me in a different place than a lot of people, where I'm dealing with 2 people with compromised immune systems. I would like to go to a place and experience a convention. However, I don't have the luxury of being willy-nilly. But when you stamp mask required, okay, now I've got that comfort level of...
Right. I went in with the expectation that these are the rules we're all playing by. And in any game, if we sit down with 2 different rule sets, there's going to be problems.
Right. And it's not even... And it's not a remote... Like, this isn't just a Ken thing. Like...
Right.
The reason that they said masks are required, because if you remember, we reported on the show, Philip might even remember this, where they said masks not required. They said that back in, what was it, beginning of May, I think it was? Yeah. It was like, masks aren't required. And companies bitched a fit. Because they did it like right around the cancellation date for when companies could back out. Because again, you're setting that expectation where companies are like, we're not comfortable with this, we're not going to show up. That sort of thing.
But we're now at the money, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And companies bitched. Origins got so much heat that then flipped around and said, "Just kidding, y'all. We're gonna have masks required."
Yeah.
To then basically being like, "Just kidding. We don't
Yeah.
give a fuck."
Right. We got your money. We don't care.
Right. That's where it's like.
Yeah, I posted a link to a tweet from somebody that I found had posted a picture of an individual helping run the vaccine verification booth, and holy fuck!
Oh, hold on. Let me. I'm working on getting this into.
So everybody can see it.
Yeah, or at least the video.
Right. Yeah.
Oh man, this is fantastic here.
Yeah.
The proof of vaccination staff. Not even like to me. I never understand. I see people with masks like this. I never understand. Like, what is the point? Like, if you're not gonna, is it just so it looks like you're wearing a mask from far away?
No, I think it's simply to say, well, no, I have a mask on.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, technically, but
Yeah.
yeah. So the for those who can't see, the person has their mask clearly down,
The chin
right
mask.
along their chin. Yeah, their nose is out, their mouth is out. Like there's zero protection, there's zero benefit to wearing the mask. And this is the Origins volunteer.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, what was it, 4 years ago, where there was all those sexual assault allegations that were happening, that like some of not staff, but like major publisher type people, and Origins was like, well, we can't. What do you expect us to do? Like, that's where I was like, I'm not surprised in this in the least.
No, and like I said, it was a, oh, Gamma screws up this thing, oh, Gamma screws up that thing. I go, okay, yeah, they're stupid, and yeah, they're gonna make mistakes, but at the end of the day, I'm still having a good time. And this was, there's a pandemic on. We know 1 million Americans have died. How many people have died worldwide? They said they're taking it seriously, and then they didn't do anything about it. Like, that's just no.
Not to mention, we were in a prime spike.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I was surprised that it didn't get more coverage. It was like, I looked at our local numbers of like cases in June, like the May and beginning of June were just as high, just about, as like January of this year. And that shocked me because like I had heard of numbers going up, but I didn't imagine they were that high.
Yeah. So,
granted, I have to throw the caveat of, yes, the numbers went up, but hospitalizations aren't as big, and that sort of thing. Anyway, sorry.
Right. No, that's fine. But like, then I dealt with a few people who were like, well, I don't understand why I have to wear a mask. It's like, all right, here's how this works. Columbus, as a city, doesn't require a mask. That's fine. Columbus as a city doesn't require you to have an Origins badge to come around either, do they? This is a private function, effectively, that you have to pay to get into. You have to follow the rules, or that's just how this works. And it felt very much like a slap in the face from Gamma to have them be like, no, we say we're going to enforce this, but we're not.
And then you personally, I had seen some posts where you knew of like 6 or 7 people that ended up with COVID post.
Yeah, I knew 7 people who either, a lot of them were booth folks who had booths, who were working in booths. But I had another friend a local friend, and it's just like, all right, and there was, I don't think I necessarily got at the show, and I felt sick like 2 days after, and COVID takes 5 days but it's like, no, in that case, you were carrying it, you didn't realize you were carrying it. Everyone should have been wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And now the folks that I dealt with, the folks that I knew, all had masks on. That's not an issue. But there were so many people who didn't, that it's just like, the rules said wear masks. You wear masks. And there should have been some kind of, not retaliation is not the right word, but some sort of, reprimand of, oh, if you don't wear masks, then this happens. If you don't wear masks and you're an attendee, you can leave.
Yeah.
But
This is again another place where PAX shows that it is just leagues above the rest of the board game convention world as far as organization. I mentioned to you this in chat, and Philip, I don't know if I talked about this on the show, but I was eating. So we were playing games in you. You remember PAX Unplugged? You always have that like big open area for playing board games on like the far side, like away from the dealer hall. There would just be rows of tables to play.
One time I went, sure.
That's what I was saying, just like but so we were over in like that over area, and granted, there was not a whole lot of people around us, and we're probably at the furthest end of the convention center where like nobody's around. But there was a Ben and Jerry's booth that was like one that was like one row away, so it was prime position for eating ice cream. And I had gotten some ice cream, and so I had my mask off while I was eating the ice cream, and not thinking about it, I had left it off while we were playing a game. And then like no less than 5 minutes later, PAX enforcer comes around and is just like, hey, can you put your mask on? And I'm like, oh crap, and then putting it back on just because it had slipped my mind. But like that and that's how it's done. You know, it's just there wasn't like it wasn't a bullying sort of moment. It was just like, hey, you need to put a mask on kind of thing. Now, granted, if I had said no, then I'm sure it would have escalated beyond that. But
but you are, within reason, given certain circumstances, a reasonable person.
Yeah. Philip's like trying not to let, and again it and like, and you may be sitting here listening to this and you may not agree with anything we're saying, but it all comes back to that expectation. If you don't, nobody says you have to go to these conventions,
right?
And it's one of those like, if you don't like it, don't go, because again, it speaks like. If someone's out there being like, well, it's just a small piece of, small minority that's making things worse for the rest of us, then don't go and show the company with your money that's what that's the thing. Like, dollars matter.
Yeah.
There are plenty of conventions that are, vaccine and mask optional that you can then, go to. So it's one of those, it just all comes back to like expectations, and it's one of those like, don't waffle, pick your stand, go with it, and live and die by that decision. Either you're going to take these steps, and again, this comes back to, as we move further away from the pandemic, it just, for me, this just puts more shadow in my mind that Origins is not the kind of convention, like atmosphere and things around it. Sure, I've had plenty of good times around Origins, but it just loses faith in the thing that's like, okay, if there's not that big about this, but what happens when it comes to something else that's big?
Right.
How are they going to take that seriously?
Right. You didn't take something that killed people seriously. I can't trust you to do anything at this point. And it infuriates me. I came home, I tested daily. Luckily, I don't seem to have anything, but it's just one of those things. It's like, that shouldn't have been anybody's experience.
So,
and to have it be the case is like, no, that's just,
Now, Philip, we'll get into, because we've had discussions and stuff in the past, but I do want to get at least a little bit of another perspective, because you are, you have to deal with all kinds of people every day.
Single day.
So,
for those of us out of the loop like me, why do you have to deal with people every day?
He works in the customer service. I
work for U-Haul.
Yeah.
And
good Lord. Okay.
When everything started, we slowed down. We did not stop. We slowed down for like 14 days exactly. and then everything went right back to normal
Yep.
levels of. And like I'm not the type of person who is like, oh my god, we need to hide and all. But it was seriously a moment of like, come on, can we just like, can everyone just stay home for at least one day a week? Can we all just not go outside?
Yeah. Can we treat this seriously?
But I just wanted to just hearing all of this. Just wondered what your kind of thoughts were again, since you've what. Just curious, what is U-Haul's policy right now? For are you wearing or are you required to wear masks at all, or?
The official policy is whatever the locality's guidelines are.
Okay, so it's just the same level as where everything else around you, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. But what's your opinion of it? You've heard me talk about the waffling in the past about the regulations and such. I'm just curious what your take was on some of the stuff that Kim was talking about.
Oh, I mean it's private events, and there should have been more enforcement. Um, we did refuse a few customer service, like in 2020, but then that stopped too. I guess so. Maybe like right at the beginning, and this was from top down. It was like,
Yeah.
Everyone has to do this, and then it became it became a do whatever your locality says. I think maybe a couple places got fined from their counties, but I'm not 100% certain on that.
That might have affected that
like-
top-down push then.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We at the I can tell you my experiences from like when we were working. Customer walked in the building. My mask was always hanging from my right ear. Customer walked in the building, bam, mask went on. The moment the customer was gone, okay. We did it around the general public. We kept our masks on, and if you wanted to have your mask on all the time, more power to you. Nobody like got mad that us workers working around each other did or did not have it on.
But
And I don't think any of us. I mean, we work for U-Haul and we deal with dirty, nasty. I think we're all immune anyway.
they've had to deal with the dirt of society for the longest time, anyways.
Oh yeah, I mean, some of the stuff we've cleaned out of these trucks, man. I'm immune to everything.
So how many times have you had the Black Plague?
What's that?
many times have
I've had every hue that you can name of plague. Okay,
There you go.
give me that color gamut chart for like monitors and stuff. I got the whole thing.
So you need to play hues and cues and describe the color based on your symptoms.
Yes.
Now I'm thinking of like the different threat levels for different everyone talks about like whatever or it's for everything. There's like defense levels, but there's also even like pollen level yellow or orange or whatever. But now I'm thinking in like terms of those colors. But
Is pollen level yellow just like normal?
yeah, it's when it gets to green that it's bad. So Kid, you got any last thoughts on Origins before we get out of the depressing stuff and into actual fun?
Real quick, since you talked about pollen, I actually learned something recently. Did you know bees are actually allergic to pollen?
Huh.
Yeah, they start to develop hives.
Oh, damn.
Anyway,
I walked face first into that one.
Yes, you did. No, like, so I mean, I brought back a bunch of games. I'm really excited to get to play them because we're visiting, folks this for a week and having a real good time. But when people asked me how Origins went, the way I described it was seeing people was great. The event was at best maybe worth it. Like it was great to see people. It was great to hang out for that bit. It was to catch up with folks that I haven't seen in years, and oh, what have you been up to? Well, we had a kid. You had a kid, that.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But the attendees and the exhibitors at Origins make Origins for me.
Yeah.
Gamma does everything they seem to do, or everything they can, to ruin the experience. And based on this year, I have a feeling that, let's say the pandemic completely disappears tomorrow and Origins is going regular occurrence next year. I might just say, you know what? Hey, local game store, I want to come in and set up a game day, or a couple game days, and we're just going to hang out and play games and talk about the hobby, and use this as an opportunity to or share love about the hobby.
Instead of Gen can't, it's like Aura can't.
So it was Norigins.
Ah, that's right, Norigins.
Which I get it. It's still clunky. Gen can't just roll. It's such a better thing, but I think they had better source to work with. But no, I'm excited to play the games. I'm excited to get back into doing more playing of games, getting back into reviewing games, things like that. But the overall experience was saved by the people I saw, despite Gamma.
Right.
I think is the best way to kind of put it.
All right. Well, let's get into some actual something fun. I'm just going to say patreon.com/boards and swords. It helps support the show, and we're going to slide right into our game show. Philip, I actually did some work that will help out. I've got a PowerPoint slide, so I was able to flip through all those photos real fast, dedicate it. But here's the real cool parts. So today, our game show, where we've got an actual, two competitors here, contestants. We're playing the eBay game, and I can actually show you the pieces and then, show you the price. So what we've got here is I went online, and since we were talking about Origins, I went to eBay and typed in Origins Game Fair and found a bunch of different things. And so we are going to talk about
ancient swag.
Ancient swag, exactly. So, Philip, you're going to go first here. The way this is going to work is you are going to guess the price of this item, the buy it now. For the ones that have the option, we're going to be going on buy it now. And then Ken or whoever's not the guesser, you're going to tell me, is that higher or lower? Or is the actual price higher than lower than what he said? So, any comments, questions? All right.
I think
that looks like
sense.
a dumb Pokemon.
So first up, So first thing we have here is there were a couple of these actually on here, but the one I have specifically pulled up. Apparently, in 2008, there were stamped Origins Game Fair Pokemon cards. So promo card 106 out of 32 is Shellos. Fair staff, Origins Game Fair staff stamped promo card. The shipping is only $2.99, FYI. So Philip, what do you think this card is going for?
Let's see. So we've got a 14-year-old card.
Mm-hmm.
With all the controversial stuff with Origins, I'm going to go with $60.
$60. All right. Ken, higher or lower?
I'm going to say he guessed high, so lower than it's going to be lower than $60.
You'd be surprised. The actual price is $119.99.
Jesus.
The most that has ever been spent or asked for a Shellos card. And I do have to mention, there may have been one that was low, but this was mid-grade for these. There were some going for $200.
Good Lord.
Yeah. So that is a point for Philip. So you're going to keep the guessing train going here. Next item we have, on the opposite side of things, we have the Tanto Cuore game promo card for Origins Game Fair 2021 for Anna Brunner, who this is from Japanime Games.
Japanime.
Yeah. Tanto Kore, classic kind of anime girls looking card game, but apparently an Origins promo card. Philip, what do you think about this promo card from last year? How much is it going for? Buy it now price.
Before I answer that, why does it have a 1-year protection plan?
Do you really want to know the answer to that question?
To keep the beer off of it,
Yeah.
because that's from the Beer Fest version of the game.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, there we go.
Oh, that's not where I was going with it, but okay.
That's for Boards and Swords After Dark.
This is used.
Condition. Oh, that's even worse. Okay, gotcha. I'm gonna go with. Newer card, but stylized female brewery waitress.
Uh-oh. Did you freeze or are you thinking about it?
I'm speaking.
All right. Did you give a
Yeah,
price?
If you said a number, I didn't hear it.
That everything I just. Oh man.
We got the end. We got most of it. We just didn't get the actual
okay.
number.
$60.
$60.
I'm gonna say
Go
lower
$60
than that.
again.
All right. Well, you can't be right all the time. This one was only $5.
Yeah,
Oh,
because they actually they print that promo regularly. That one's just Origins branded for completely no reason.
All right. Well, then, Ken, you're gonna get this. You're gonna get this next one. This is Origins Game Fair first player Metal Challenge coin promo new. I just realized that I just have some of the. Don't look at it too hard. There's some. If you.
I'm just waiting for the image to show up on the.
Oh,
Twitch
okay.
feed
Well, it's probably
because-
better for you not to see the image because I actually missed something on there. So, what do you
Okay.
think the actual player for just think a Metal Challenge coin that's stamped Origins? What do you think the actual price of this coin is?
I mean, I have a couple challenge type coins, like from the solo player guild and things like that. I'll say 15.
Okay, Philip, higher or lower?
I'm gonna say lower.
Okay. Yeah, it was 10.75 each. That was where I missed the
Because
quantity.
I see the two or more.
Two or more for
9.68
9.60.
each.
Yeah, that's where I was like,
Yeah.
oops. I may just.
Oh, that is so boring.
Yeah, it is.
Like I expected there to be more to it.
Yeah. But
If
you
I'd
say.
seen the image first, it would have been 10.
Oh man. All right. There are two more here. But speaking of pins here, we have another 2021 Origins Game Fair collectible enamel pin. This one is from the Furnace board game. It was a big hit last year. Furnace board game promo pin, Origins Game Fair 2021 collectible enamel pin. All right, Ken, I'll give you another shot at this since
So that was a hot game.
it was yeah.
Prompts.
Yeah.
There he goes.
Yeah.
I'll say 15 again.
Mr. Herbig. Is it higher or lower?
Um,
Now we're going off to we're not going the starting bid price. This is a buy it now one. I just covered both up so I didn't throw you off.
Go with Origins pin. I'm gonna say lower.
Lower? All right. I don't remember what the actual one. Oh, you were wrong. The actual price. This surprised the crap out of me. They are asking for $31.99 for this pen.
So something to be clear, is this what people are asking for it or what people
Asking for.
have purchased it? Okay. That's a very different thing.
Sure. But still, it's one of those like
that is high.
yeah. 15 actually sounds about reasonable what you were saying. That's all
Yeah.
right. And I believe this next one is the last one. Yeah, here we go. So we'll go with Philip on this one. Origins Game Fair 2009 playing poker card game deck promo flying buffalo. Got to hit all them keywords. Got to get that SEO high.
We're
This
just missing the.
This is the most basic looking deck of playing cards, but it has although I will say more on it than that challenge coin did.
Yeah. All we're missing in the description is like the micro and extreme buzzwords, and we'd have everything.
Synergy.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so a deck of cards from
2009.
13 years ago.
Although this
used condition.
This font makes me think Thundercats.
It does.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I mean that is the old board.
See, like I'm even wondering if that glare on the O is from a light source,
or if it's just worn in.
On the card, yeah.
Oh, or just printed. I thought it was like maybe worn in on the card.
That's the Ace of Spades. I'm gonna go with $24.
$24. All right, Ken, higher or lower?
So, I looked up, not on eBay. I looked up what the actual like faces of the cards look like.
Mm-hmm.
There is no consistency to those cards whatsoever. A lot of them are just ads. So I'm definitely going lower, but I would have gone lower anyway because I enjoy collecting decks of cards, and that thing is ugly.
I agree. $5.99.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But it was
Good
there was a
Lord.
couple other ones on there that was like Origin. I guess there were some Batman, old school Batman playing cards that were done at Origins that were in like the $10 to $15 range. So that was it was just a lot of all over the map. I've done stuff. I've done this kind of thing for like Gen Con before, and there'd be like a lot of options. It was kind of holy shit. I just saw the
the picture.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Hold on, give me a sec while I pull this up. This is
so bad.
This is the best way to end the show. That right here.
Like it's straight off of Art Cal.
This is like clip art here.
Like it's so bad.
What's up with is that like a Cthulhu thing going on?
Kind of like a dwarf almost and a Cthulhu together, like with the make like a.
I mean,
beard.
it says Chaosium.com.
Oh, it does say Chaosium, so yeah, it's like a.
Yeah. But yeah, the Hellas RPG and Metal, Magic, and Lore brought to you by the Fifth Epoch Publishing.
Okay.
And then Louis Zocchi, who is
the first VP of Gamma. So he served probably what, like 1 month?
Probably. I mean, I've met him. He's interesting. We'll go with that.
He holds
a patent on
dice. I was
dice.
going to say, he holds a patent on 3, 5, 14, 16, 24, and 100-sided dice. So, like, all the ones for Dungeon Crawl Classics, because I think those are the only ones that use those weird ones.
Yep.
3, 5, 16, and 24. Oh, my gosh. This is great right here.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
Yep.
I'm going to have to... Hold on. This is getting put in the show notes.
Right? That's got to be this episode's banner is what it's got to be, man.
There you go.
All right. And then before we go, I have to I promised or we got also in the slide deck was this nice gif of Heresy. This might need to get linked into the Discord because it's like my favorite gif ever. And Rusted
Somebody
Beetle
just asked about getting another Heresy, so there you go.
Yeah, the Rusted Beetle asked for it, so ask and ye shall receive. All right, thank you, Ken, so much for being on the show. Philip, I think it's time to roll that beautiful bean footage.
That's been our show tonight, everyone. If you like what we're doing, you got to check us out, boardsandswords.com/live. That's got the schedule for when you can see the shenanigans that Chris likes to come up with on the screen there. We record mostly every other Monday. You got us on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, boardsandswords.com/live. It'll get you here when we're broadcasting.
All right, send us feedback. We love it. Let us know. Am I talking too much about one thing or not enough about other stuff? You got questions? I would say we have answers, but we probably just have more questions. That's the honest to
Smart ass comments is what we got.
Or we guaranteed smart ass comments. So email us feedback at boardsandswords.com or Facebook at Boards and Swords Pod, at Boards and Swords Chris on Instagram, although I put Boards and Swords. I just realized that. And at Boards and Swords on Twitter, and boardsandswords.com for links to everything else, like our Patreon. Check it out. It's help support the show. And we'll be back again in 2 weeks with another show. Ken, for people that want to check out your stuff, where can they find you?
You can go to geek-craft.com. I also post my reviews on BGG, and we're working on doing a lot more craft stuff. My printer's been doing a lot, and we just got a resin printer. Sam has been printing dice, so...
Oh, yeah, their products are great. Especially you want some, swanky dice bags, they got you covered. All right. In the meantime, we'll see you again in 2 weeks with another show. Remember that every gamer has a story, and I love the... Ken said it best. Here a C, there a C, everywhere a C. Good night, everybody! If I could have gotten the microphone inside this thing, I should have just done the whole show with the box on my head. All right, welcome to Boards and Swords. And it being upside down is even better. All right,